Hello and welcome back. I'm here with two-time Super Bowl champion, Leo Chenal. Leo, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course. Thanks for coming. So first off, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Now that you're sort of a veteran in the Super Bowl, can you walk us through your game day routine?
Yeah, for sure. Being called a veteran after year two is pretty interesting, but yeah, game day routine, it's kind of different depending on the time of game. If it's an away game or home game. So there's probably like 4 to 5 different routines. But when we're at a home game and it's say a morning or a noon game or whenever it is, like the early slot, we stay at the team hotel, and some guys, go home, when they see family or just have alone time. But when it's that game, I just like, okay, I'm going on the early bus anyways to the game, or I'm getting to the game early anyways. So I have no need, just get some extra sleep. Turn anything off that could be a distraction, and then just really focus in. And I get there anywhere from 3 to 3.5 hours before the game. I'll play some music and then play like some frequencies that's supposed to calm the mind, roll out, stretch out, muscle activation with Coach Carbon, one of the strength coaches. And then we go out on the field separately about anywhere from 2 hours before the game to like an hour 45 before the game. I usually get out of the field and go through my own like warm up, stretch routine, kind of like visualize myself, playing the games, going through a snap, different defensive calls, envisioning, in that way. And then, I come back in and, I kind of just like calm myself down, because I don't want to get too riled up. You got the adrenaline going, your heart racing, especially after being out on the field and going through the visualization practices. And so I kind of sit there, and sometimes I kick my feet up. And during the Super Bowl, it was completely different too, because like you got so much extra time. So I made sure to like get off my feet and everything. But yeah, and then basically just stay warm, up until we go out on the field, and that's basically it. I don't have any specific meals or specific songs I listen to. That's basically the general gist of it. But then when we do have extra time, when it's a night game or like the 3 o'clock slot, I try to spend time with family as much as I can. We get such little of that during the season, so I'll go home in those home games. And after breakfast on each of the game days, I try to go on a walk as well, something like Jack Cochran first was doing. So I'm like, hey, I'll try that out. And it's good for the digestive stuff, and good to clear your mind, get some blood flow as well. So I take advantage of that. But yeah, nothing really unique, besides all that.
No superstitions?
I feel like I do have some, because, my wife kind of gets mad at me that I need them. But, one of them was writing death row on my arm, all the way up until like the preseason games this year. And then she told me to stop writing it. Then I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens. It's a preseason game, whatever. And then I recovered a fumble. And then she's like, oh, you can't write it on your arm anymore. So I didn't write it on my arm like the whole season, basically until the postseason. I wrote it on my arm like underneath tape. I was gonna pull it off or something after I made a big play, but I didn't really get to that. And but no, I don't think any huge superstition, really.
Yeah. Just being locked in, just focusing on yourself and your body before the game. That's very important.
Yeah, for sure. And each guy has their own thing, and I think superstitions are as important as you let them be.
100%. So I don't know if you keep up with it at all, but you were PFF's highest graded player, not only in the Super Bowl, but in the entire playoffs. What's sort of your reaction to that? Like, what stock do you put into that?
Yeah, I definitely had family, sending me different things, family, friends, like how that's cool and stuff. And, different guys have different opinions on PFF. And, I just wanted to contribute as much as possible. And, honestly, I didn't think I contributed a whole lot, before the Super Bowl. Like, I think I could have made some more plays, but, I felt pretty good after the Super Bowl. It was like probably my only, maybe my only game where the whole season where I felt like, looking back on it, like, okay, like I felt like I did my job well, and I thought I contributed. And because usually like I hone in on like usually the bad, the negative, and I usually get really hard on myself on the negative things I do. But after the Super Bowl, you get the win and finish to the season, and feeling like I didn't leave too much out there besides the one the angle route that McCaffrey had on me in the first drive. That's something I want to do better on. But I felt pretty good overall.
Yeah, but I mean, you got him back real quick. You stripped that fumble. That was your first NFL fumble. That's pretty crazy. Big moment to have it.
Yeah, crazy.
And,
he's a great player, and they've been on us for sure.
I mean, and you had the forced fumble, which saved at least 3 points because they were in field goal range, and then you had the blocked extra point, which obviously saved 1 point, and we only won by 3 points. So I mean, that's a crazy impact to have on the game. I mean, when did you realize how big of an impact you had? Was it like in the game, or was it after, or the next day, or when was that?
Yeah, I mean, kind of during the game, I felt like it's kind of stacking up, and I felt like, man, I feel good. Like I feel like I can just keep making plays and keep going, and that kind of thing. Like you feel, and you feel like you can continue making them because you've done it, and it's right there. It's on the field right there in front of you, and I just felt like, okay, man, coach, keep putting me in, and I think I only had like maybe close to 30 snaps, less than that, but I felt like I could just keep making plays, and special teams is super important to me. Being a Sam linebacker, not getting on the field like a whole lot, so I'm really happy that I could contribute in that way too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if I had to say, you'd get more playing time next year. I mean, you really stepped up, and that whole linebacker room is just crazy, man. So deep, all skill all the way around.
Oh yeah, and something that's not talked about is like the humility and the character strength that like is in the room. Like you don't get a lot of rooms and linebackers or players in general that like across the board are great players, but they're also humble and strength of character is like off the charts. Like you got guys that are just like willing to help each other, like sticking their neck out for each other. Like, and it's a younger room too, so that might help too.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the team as a whole. I'm a bit curious about what it was like to come into a system like Spagnuolo's as a rookie and work under somebody that established.
Yeah. When I first came in, going from Wisconsin defense, we were defense statistically, I think like number one or somewhere up there. Going into Spags defense, it was a whole new level, to be honest. Like just mentally, it was like drinking from a fire hose, and to a certain extent at Wisconsin, I was the signal caller, but I kind of almost like memorized stuff, and but in Spags defense, you can't get away with any of that. You have to like know like people's jobs, everybody around you kind of inside and out, because you got to call certain stunts, you got to call certain adjustments for different people on different levels, each level, and as a rookie, that's a tough thing to do. We go through those 18 to 21 play drives, just boom, back to back, and drive down the field full pads in like the heat of training camp. And it was probably the toughest like days of my life, when the rookies get there early and everything. And, the coaches were patient. I think we have a great coaching staff because, they weren't super hard. It was all constructive criticism, and I felt like I was being supported in a great way. So that was definitely helpful, having that support. And then, obviously when the older guys came in, they were super helpful as well. But just what we're asked to do as a defense, it's crazy. Like you ask any free agent that comes in here, like, hey, how does this team, like difficulty wise, like intelligence wise, compare to your last team? And every single guy will say it's hard, dude. I've never been a part of something that's this tough.
I mean, yeah, I couldn't imagine. You guys look like a well-oiled machine out there. And I've heard, I think at a press conference with Justin Reed, he talked about how Spags will sometimes implement stuff that you guys hadn't gone over in the middle of games, like at halftime. Is that true?
Yeah, it's like little adjustments, and a lot of the times it's stuff that we practiced in training camp, or it's an adjustment that's part of a completely different call that we could bring into a certain call. It's just little things. It's not like it's completely foreign technique or concepts that he'll bring in like mid-game, but he definitely pulls from different things when he needs to.
Yeah, and it really works out. So let's pivot more to you and how you've developed into your year two. Who would you say took you under their wing and kind of mentored you early on?
Yeah, I would say like Nick Bolton. Scheme wise, like intelligence wise, like Coach Spags even pointed out like he's kind of like a coach out there. He's making like adjustments and trying to pointers and advice and everything during the games as well. and like he was just super smart. Like, you know, he was only a little bit older than me. Like he was a year older. He came out, you know, and just being a young player, the intelligence like he had was really astounding. Like it was pretty crazy to see that. Like, hey, like he was just in my shoes a year ago, and he already knows all this, and is practicing this way and is playing this way, and you know, that really inspired me, you know, to step up my game like on an intelligence level. And you know, I had a good route. Like Jack Hawk, I'll say again, like he's a great dude in terms of like his study habits. You know, I would say rival like Luke Kuechly's. You know, you hear the legends about him and stuff, and so him being in the same like kind of draft class as me, you know, he helped me out a ton too. And then Willie Gay, just he was kind of like the juice man, like, you know, he is the juice man, and he motivated me like on a physical level, like whether it was in the weight room or out on the field, like he was constantly bringing energy. So I felt like we had that like kind of like bang bang of like, you know, Nick and Willie, you know, on those different levels.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I mean, Willie Gay, he gets you fired up, man. He really does. I
Yeah,
mean, just on the TV screen, not even.
like him.
Yeah, yeah. So let's pivot more into you personally, and I want to ask, how would you say what role does faith play in your game and in your life?
Yeah, so I mean, my faith is a huge part. You know, going back to my college days, like mentally, like my college days were pretty tough on me. Like I was always a homebody. You know, I always had brothers and family. Like I had a huge family, and you know, so I always had like a big support cast. And so going off to college was pretty tough for me, because especially like the coaching I had, like it was tough coaching, and you have college classes on top of everything. And like any struggle I've had throughout college and in my NFL career, I could always like go back to my foundation and my faith. God always has my back, and kind of like letting that worry or anxiety go and realizing like, dude, like telling myself, dude, it's gonna be okay. Like, you know, like it's God's plan. Like, why worry? Like, whatever happens is gonna happen. Like, only like control the controllables is kind of a good way to put it. Like, if it's not in your control, don't worry about it. Like, the stress is only gonna bring you down more and affect the things that you can control. So I think my faith in God and in Jesus Christ, you know, kind of allowed me to play like confident, you know, because I always knew like he was there for me.
Man, I love to hear that. That's really inspiring. And I feel like there's been a growth in the recent years of athletes using their platform to speak on Jesus, and I love to hear it. And you know what they say sure. Is they say that God doesn't give you anything you can't handle, and that's something that I use every day. So that's great to hear, man.
No, yeah, and I think that's a great way to put it too. Like, you know, it's really like a blessing to be given something like a tough task to handle, because it's just another opportunity for you to grow and grow in a relationship with him.
100%, man. I love to hear that. So let's pivot back. You're talking about your college days. And so I realized you grew up in Wisconsin, and then you attended Wisconsin. Did you grow up a Packers fan by chance?
I did. I wasn't like a huge super fan, but like, you know, if they were playing, like they were the only team I would support, for sure.
Yeah, man. Go Pack, go. So how was it going to Lambeau, visiting Lambeau for the first time as an NFL player this season?
Yeah, I mean, the crazy part is I was only there one other time growing up. You know, we were all the way across the state, and like I said, like we would always have like a big box TV growing up. We'd all sit around and make a tradition to watch it as a family, the game. So I didn't go there much, and then I went there as like with a friend, a pass punt kick competition, like, you know, at halftime or something. But other than that, yeah, that was my first time going there, and dude, I gotta say, like, besides the end result of the game, obviously, it was like one of the coolest experiences of my life. Like the night game, the snow falling, the fans with, you know, ice and snow all over them, and you know, the energy there was awesome. Like everything about it was so surreal. And you know, it's kind of cool, like being like a Packers fan and then, you know, being a Chiefs player. I believe it's like the two best, you know, historically, fan wise, like the two best like fan bases, you know, you can have.
Yeah, dude, I certainly agree with that. I mean, and the way you painted the picture, I mean, that sounds like some NFL classic stuff, like stuff that you're talking about with your buddies as little kids pretending you're in the league. You know, that's crazy to hear.
No, for sure, dude. It's yeah, just you think about it as a little kid, and like I was walking, just and, like I just felt like, you know, listening to my music, walking down the sideline like in pregame, and you know, I was thinking about those things, like, dude, like this is crazy. I'm so blessed to be in the position I'm in, and yeah, I was definitely taking it all in.
That's great. So To end it off here, I'd like to do a few little fun rapid fire questions if you're down for that.
Hit me.
All right. So if you could work with one player or coach, past or present, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I mentioned him earlier. I would say Luke Kuechly. Just because he was a beast. Mike Linebacker, and just his intelligence is off the charts, and his work ethic. So I'm actually going on a Zoom meeting with him. Maybe sometime in the next few weeks or something like that. So Luke Kuechly for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Michael Jordan of linebackers for sure.
Exactly.
So if you weren't an NFL player, what job would you see yourself having?
Let's see. I always thought I wanted, like, growing up, I felt like I wanted to do like a physical labor job, something maybe in like construction or something. And, but that's when I felt good. My body felt good. So things changed, man. But no, I think as I grew older in high school, it turned into like wanting to, own a business, and maybe possibly sales. And that's what I started my degree out actually in college. So it'd probably be something in sales.
Yeah. I mean, talking about labor jobs, I think there's an argument to be made that you might be the strongest pound for pound player on the Chiefs right now. Do you think there's any merit to that?
I definitely pride myself in the weight room, but we got some strong dudes. You got to take a look at Turk in the weight room and Creed before we make any of those statements.
Yeah, and then my final rapid fire question is, do you have a welcome to the NFL moment?
Yeah. I was actually just thinking about the other day, like somebody asked me, like, what do you think? And it was when we played the Colts my rookie year. I was actually lined up in the, like, when you saw in the Super Bowl, kind of like in a 3-tech, but it was more of a shade. And then I dressed the center, Quentin Nelson, dude. He got underneath my pads, almost like just a fast bench press, and just threw me to the ground, almost like lifted me off, threw me on my back. And I realized, man, this is the big leagues right here. You got Quentin Nelson, bear mauler. So yeah, I'd probably say that.
I mean, that guy's probably going to the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's a really great lineman. Yeah, I would not like to go up against him.
Yeah, it opened my eyes for sure, and it made me better. You learn.
100%. Well, man, I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate you coming on here and talking to me. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to promote anything you'd like to promote.
I don't have a foundation as of yet. I should have mentioned that. And it's something I'm working on with my agency and everything. And I just think, in a time, especially considering the events what happened, with the parade and everything. I just think it's important to everybody to find the faith and find that foundation that we talked about earlier, and realize, like, love needs to overcome everything. Like, just have that love in your heart, and look out for one another. A lot of times, you treat other people as like robots, or people have feelings and importance in their lives. And I just think having that love to overcome the hate that's going on in the world is important.
Man, that's great to hear, and I'll keep an eye out for that foundation whenever it pops up. And I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. It's an honor.